welcome back to the W Basketball Show. I'm your host, Lucas, joined this week by Marco. Marco sitting as a co-host this week. Marco, how are you?
I'm good, Lucas. How are you?
I'm very well. I was looking back on the Deep 2 Spotify, the Deep 2 Podcast Network's Spotify feed, and there hasn't been a W episode for 3 weeks, I think.
Really?
Now. And the last one was with Christy Collier-Hill, if I'm not mistaken. Should I turn up my game?
Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
Let's do that. And
Yeah,
let's see
yeah.
how that works.
Yeah, that looks heaps better. Yeah, great episode you had with Christy Collier-Hill 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm glad we can follow up on it. But that means that you and I haven't talked about it for even longer.
Yeah.
The W, that is.
5 weeks, I would guess.
Yeah.
Could be shorter, could be longer.
Yeah, it could be one of those. Today we're taking on the WNBA 2024 over-unders, as you can tell by the title. Never thought I'd be in this position where I was doing over-unders with anyone on a podcast, but here we are. As we've done this exercise, I feel like it's been more and more fun the more and more we do it. Mm-hmm. And in the lead up, it's felt like an event. You know,
100%.
I'm feeling like there's something on the line here.
Sean put it in the calendar a couple of weeks ago, and it's been like I've just been etching the marks on my prison cell wall, just waiting for the day.
Have you seen Top Secret with Val Kilmer?
I don't think so.
I want to say it was in 1984. It's
All right, Bill Simmons.
It's actually the greatest basketball team of all time, the '84 Celtics. But it's a satire film on like maybe James Bond or something like this. Should I let the cat out?
No, just
Okay.
leave him. He'll be all right.
That's cool. So if you hear any meowing in the back, it's Marco. Anyway, I can't believe how much I've been derailed from this such a low value add. But anyway, he goes to prison in one scene and he's chalking up on the prison wall, and he's got 20.
Yeah.
He's got 20 lines written up there, and his lawyer comes in. He's like, God, thank God you're here. I've been in here for 20 minutes already. And that's the whole gag.
That's really funny. I feel like there's a similar one in an episode of The Simpsons where like someone's doing lines and then it's just like number of lines on the wall. Like it zooms out a little bit.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Good
well
side
done,
gag.
Simpsons. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling about the over-unders? How do you feel as a listener of the Deep Two's patented over-unders? How do you feel as now a producer and a co-host of an over-under episode?
I feel excited as well. For me, the best part of this was... I texted you 2 days ago being like, I'm going to like do the ins and outs for the teams. And you're like, that sounds like a big task. Like only if you want to. And it was.
Yeah.
But it was fun like looking at WNBA players I'm not super familiar with and being like, that one was on that roster and now they're on that roster.
We call that a roster move.
Yeah. And then, I feel like that is going to improve my watching of this season. Being like, they were on the Dream last season.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a bit of nuance there.
Yeah. Because I think, and I mean, this is true of when you start watching any sport, every year you get like layers and layers and layers down. You first start watching, you're like, oh, cool, I know the 3 best players in the sport.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, cool, I know the starters for most teams. And then, by the end of it, you're like, I know, every role player for every team from the last 15 years.
Yeah.
We're a while over that. We're maybe year 2 of the 15-year plan. But yeah, in terms of my actual picks, I feel like I'm definitely less confident than you are. I think you said you were 10-2 in terms of confidence.
I said my confidence fluctuates between... Actually, it doesn't even fluctuate between. It is either I'm happy about 10 of the picks or I'm happy about 1 of them. And there's no in between. I'm just at a crossroads in my own mind.
Okay. I say I'm fluctuating more between like 5 and 8 in terms of ones that I'm confident in. So let's just say, higher floor, lower ceiling, which is how I would describe us on any given day anyway.
So 2 disclaimers I think we need to make ahead of time, or maybe 2 context setters. Marco did do the ins and outs as of Sunday the 12th of May, let's call it.
Yeah.
So there are a few players still to cut. If we mention a training camp player, then just bear with us.
Yeah.
There's also a couple of teams that say X amount of players still to cut. They are now, all the rosters are finalized, and again, bear with us. There's going to be just a couple, bottom of the roster players that we mentioned that maybe shouldn't have been mentioned.
The worst thing that's going to happen to you today is one of the 8 names that we say on a very, very, on the very, very transient WNBA rosters is going to be incorrect.
Yeah. And the other thing is we're using FanDuel's over-unders. So if you're trying to fact check us, you're like, other betting company doesn't say this. We're using FanDuel's. So that's that on that. Now, another thing that needs to be said, because the Deep 2 NBA podcast, bless their souls, you don't need to have an even amount of overs and unders. But I do like the idea that you have to be able to get them all right. You should be going to get them all right. Like you should be going for 100%.
Yeah.
In which case, the only thing is you can't have them all be overs or all be unders. You have to have at least one of the other. But you could have 11 overs and 1 under, and you could still get 12.
It'd be a weird season, but it would be possible.
It would be a strange season. But I think that's everything we need to get covered ahead of time.
Yeah, man, I think so. We should say, I guess, what's at stake for us, what's on the line. Personal honor,
professional honor,
professional honor, definitely. Maybe
leisure honor.
You know what the Deep 2 was, that they bet each other a chocolate carob or a Snickers or something like that.
Yeah.
What should we bet?
What about a once on sale, once they're on sale, 4-pack of Honeycomb Maxi Bonds?
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Or even better, full price.
Yeah, full price is fine.
So there's anywhere between 9 and 10. Well, there's anywhere between $6.30 and $10 on the line here.
Yeah.
With the way inflation's going.
Oh my god! Wow. Course. Well, I'm gonna have to take this seriously.
And without further ado, I guess I'll just take my hoodie off.
All right. Well, shall I tell you about the first team?
Yeah. So are we going alphabetical order?
Yeah, we'll go alphabetical order because that's what is written in the doc.
Yeah, that works for me.
The first team is the Atlanta Dream, whose line was set at 18.5 wins. Last season they had 19 wins, so not a lot of fluctuation there. They lost in the offseason Monique Billings, AD Durr, Ari McDonald, Danielle Robinson, and Ileana Rupert. Is it Rupert or Rupert?
Rupert.
Yeah, Rupert. Good. I got it right the first time, and then I second-guessed myself. They added to their roster Jordan Canada, Tina Charles, Lorella Kubaj, Crystal Dangerfield, and Aerial Powers. Lucas, what do you think here?
I am taking the under for the Atlanta Dream. I really like them. I really like this team. I think there's going to be... We should leave some room for comments and discussion at the very end. But I think there's just so many teams that are going to be gunning for wins. I should plug the article I wrote today, released an article on thedeep2.com. Of course, you can find it there at thedeep2.com. It's simple, talking about 5 storylines to follow in the WNBA this upcoming season, as I am one to do before every season starts. And one of the things I mentioned is that even with the 2 super teams, 2 Titans in the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty, there is still this upper middle class that is going to just be gunning for wins. And the wins have to come from somewhere. I don't think the Atlanta Dream are at that upper middle class level just yet. I think they'll play great basketball. I think Ryan Howard and Cheyenne Parker proved already that they're a great team. They're a great duo. Tina Charles is a great addition to that. And I also really like the addition of Aerial Powers because they're both just... they apply a lot of pressure on the offensive end, but I don't think that they're too deep. I think they're right around 18.5, and I'm taking the under because I think the losses, those games against the other middling teams, I just don't favor them.
Yeah. I've almost for identical reasons taken the over. I'm not saying this team is going to be anything more than a 500 team, but I do think they can, at least equal, if not better, their efforts from last season. Other teams have definitely taken bigger leaps, as we'll go through, have, made more significant additions. But this team was... This was a really good team that made the playoffs last season, and they've added Tina Charles, someone who's been there time and time again. Aerial Powers, like you said, another good pickup. I think maybe they're gonna struggle for a bit of shot creation where other teams have a lot more depth, but like, I mean, we both really like Jordan Canada. She can provide a bit of that off of the bench as well. But yeah, like, I don't think they're gonna blow anyone out of the water. But Ryan Howard's like taken, first two seasons in the league, improved year after year. There'll be another improvement. I think that should be enough to get them 20 wins.
Okay, that's a pretty. I like the path you've laid out for him. Do you think that? Probably not. But do you think Ryan Howard could be... Actually, how about this? Do you think she could finish top 5 in MVP this year?
Yes.
You reckon?
I do.
Would you pick she'll finish top 5 in MVP?
I'd have to have more of a think about it.
Because here's the thing. Asia and Stewie are going to have to be in there.
Yeah.
I think Alyssa Thomas might take a slight step back. I think Nafisa Collier will probably be third. But then 4 and 5, I really think those two are up for grabs.
Yeah, for sure.
Nneka Ogwumike, new situation. You never know what's going to happen there. Ryan Howard is like unbelievable. Like she gets to the ring really easily. Great shooter, great competitor. I think she could seriously finish top 5.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, if the Storm are good and Jewel Lloyd is like the, number one option there as well. Like, she led the league and she was incredible last season on one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, that's who Ryan Howard feels like to me. Like, there might be like a generation above her, but like she'll be top 5 in MVP. If not this season, then in seasons to come. Like, yeah. Cool.
Should we jump over to the Chicago Sky?
Cool. So the Chicago Sky, whose line is set at 12.5. They had 18 wins last season. They've basically had an entire roster change here.
It's insane. Take a breath.
So they have lost Morgan Betch, Kalia Copper, Rebecca Gardiner, Ruthie Hebbard, Sika Kone, Robin Parks, Alana Smith, Taylor Swift, Courtney Williams, and they have added Lindsay Allen, Camilla Cardoso, Kennedy Carter, Diamond DeShields, Kizre Gondrezic, Bryn Maxwell, Michaela Onyemwera, Angel Reese, and Brianna Turner. Just ridiculous roster change there, and like big names out, lots of youth coming in. What have you gone with, Lucas?
And as of Sunday, there was one player still to cut. And also, side note, Marco, thank you so much for doing the ins and outs.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there is no resource for it. There's no one-stop shop to find it. And even like each individual team doesn't have like one place you can find it. So it took Marco a lot of work. So listener,
and like I did the Atlanta, I was like, that was fine. And then I got to Chicago and I was like, oh, this is going to be hard.
This is going to take a little while. So 12.5 for Chicago. I'm going under for this. First of 3 is of the lower class of the what should I say? Bottom class. I don't know. Neither of them are like complimentary. One of the 3 worst teams in the WNBA next season. Kind of similar logic to the Atlanta Dream. The wins for the top end of the league are going to have to come from somewhere. I think Chicago, there's just so much they're going to have to figure out before they can even start focusing on wins. I'm not like in the nicest way possible. They have the least amount of reasons to try and win as well.
Definitely.
Like I think the Mystics roster, the Mystics and the Sparks, the other 2 teams on the bottom class there. The Mystics, I think they have enough players with enough experience to try and go for wins and build that ecosystem. Like they haven't gone for the full retool, whereas I feel like the Chicago Sky have gone for like bottom out. Let's rebuild,
or have been forced into it.
Forced into it. And the Sparks, there's no reason to wait. Like they've got kind of a clear direction, so they may as well go for wins or as many as they can this season. So I just think the Chicago Sky will. They don't have any reason to get to 13 wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I've gone the under as well. I think you mentioned in your article as well, like. Paige Beckers is, in next year's draft will be like the presumptive number 1 overall pick. And like should be a great partner next to the 2 bigs they just drafted. So I feel like this season is just like develop like Camilla Cardoso and Angel Reese. I mean we discussed this on our draft episode. Like They're both very talented, but I feel like it's going to take a while for them to like figure out, who they are as WNBA players. We're better to do it than like a team that's just not going to be trying to win at all.
Yeah, definitely. Brianna Turner, another great addition. I think she's more well suited to a contender as like a really toolsy player that can just make life easier for the rest of the players, the rest of her teammates, both offensively and defensively. Great rebounder, good playmaker, not really going to put the ball in the basket. So I think a great addition in terms of like developing the younger players, especially, two young bigs in Cardoso and Reese.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you're not going to get the most out of her as a basketball player on the court, I think, in a scenario like the Chicago Sky. And I think everything's that I've wanted to say I've said.
Yeah. Two final points here. Sorry, I should have mentioned this before. Teresa Weatherspoon is the new coach there. First branch of the Willie Green coaching tree. Can I hear it?
Can I hear it?
Yeah. And Camila Cardoso's will miss the next 4 to 6 weeks with a shoulder injury that she picked up in preseason. So, I mean, they're already, they're probably not going to win their first 10 games then.
Yeah, they're playing from behind and there's another setback.
Yeah.
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, why the hell not?
The Connecticut Sun, line is set at 23.5. Last season had 27 wins. Their ins are Rachel Banham, Queen Egbo, Mariah Jefferson, Tiffany Mitchell, Astu Ndao Fall, Sydney Weiss,
Yeah.
Jocelyn Willoughby, who was in the WNBL last season. Outs include Rebecca Allen, Leah Brown, Bernadette Hattar, Tiffany Hayes, Natisha Heidemann, and one player still to cut as of Sunday, the 12th of May, 2024.
I can actually tell you that was Jocelyn Willoughby.
Oh, there you go. WNBL alumni cut again. So Marco, what do you have? 23.5 wins for this Connecticut Sun, over or under?
I have the over. I'm again not feeling this hard, but it's so hard. It's so hard to fault this team and this franchise. Like they've created such a good ecosystem where they just win games, create good defenses. I mean, you said you feel like Alyssa Thomas might take a step back this season, but the Duana Bonner, Thomas, Brianna Jones trio, it's not the big three, it's not the star-studded big three, but they feel like a team that's just going to be the 3 seed every single year. However, I do think I think losing Tiffany Hayes and Natisha Heidemann's pretty impactful. And maybe that'll hurt them come the end of the season, come the playoffs. But I just have so much faith in this franchise to get players playing in their system and to to complement their 3 best players on the court.
Yeah, I think the Alyssa Thomas taking a step back will just be in the space of the MVP. But in terms of her impact on winning, that's never going to change.
Yeah.
She'll just find a way to get them in positions to win. This is one of the two I was I don't know whether to go over or under. But just Connecticut Sun, 24-16 is just speaking to me as their record for this upcoming season, which would put them at the over. So I've also gone for the over. And they're just great. They're just a great team. They'll get wins. They know how to win. Beyond being good at basketball, they know how to win. Thomas, Bonner, Jones, frontline, that could be the best in the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, Stewie and Jonquel Jones, you'd put as the 2 best players for... you'd put them ahead of any of the 3... Oh, actually, you know what? I would put Alyssa Thomas ahead of Jonquel Jones. And then, honestly, I don't think the drop-off from Jonquel Jones to Brianna Jones is that big.
No.
But then, what would you have as the 3 in New York would be Kayla Thornton?
The 3rd best player.
The 3.
Yeah.
Kayla Thornton.
Yeah.
Although she was coming off the bench for some stretches last season. But even still... I would
Laney,
say,
I guess.
But no, Jelani. True. I would still put the Suns' front court ahead of the New York Liberties.
And more than anything, they're so complementary. They all have such distinct roles. I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but one of the Liberties' problems last season is I don't know. There's a bit of an overlap in Jonquel Jones and Brianna Stewart's games. They're both star bigs. Yeah. Whereas Bonner, Thomas, Jones just all have a different role to play, generally, and then specifically in the Suns game plan. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also, not for nothing, they have Breonna Jones this year.
And
a team that won 27 games last year, although they did lose, key pieces to their backcourt, and like I think the Becca Allen loss is huge. I think more in terms of, I actually think Allen and Heideman's. I think Allen's a bigger loss in the playoffs. Heideman's a bigger loss in the regular season.
Yeah.
But even still, will this team drop 4 wins from last season? No, I don't think they will.
It's so hard to imagine they do, unless it's truly at the come up of someone else.
I think this is. Now that we've talked it through, I feel better about picking the over. This is one of the two I was never really like fully happy with. But I'm going over.
Yeah.
The Dallas Wings up next. We've had one letter of every letter of the alphabet except for B so far.
And we never will.
You never know.
The Baltimore Marylands.
The Dallas Wings are up next. Their line for this season is set at 20.5. Last season they had 22 wins. Their ins are Jaylen Brown. Oh my god. Carla Light. JC. Jesus, let me start that again. Jaylen Brown, Carla Light, JC Sheldon, Stephanie Soares, and Sevgi Uzun.
Yeah.
Outs include Crystal Dangerfield, Diamond Shields, Awaka Kuya, and Odyssey Sims, and one player still to cut, which you might have. We might have breaking news here on the W Basketball Show.
It is. No, it wasn't Jaylen Brown. I was almost sure it was going to be Jaylen Brown. It's Color Light. Wow.
There you go.
Congratulations, Jaylen. You've made it.
You finally lived out your childhood dream of making it to a professional basketball league. Marco, 20.5 Dallas Wings line is what's your call?
I tossed and turned on this one actually. I've gone the over. I for whatever reason, the Dallas Wings have been like they've been my team that I'm like, I don't like this team. not like from I don't like how they play, but just like I don't have faith that this team can go super far. Like I've always thought that like their defense has just been dreadful. Ogunbowale, like she's really good, but she is like the most inefficient player of all time. And like I don't like inefficient players. Like I don't trust them come the playoffs. But like it's hard to not imagine them winning 21 this season. Like Satu Sabali is just gonna get better and better and better. Like she's a true star. Same with Ogunbowale. I think are they second year of a new coach or
yeah.
Patricia
Trammell.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm actually just not sure about this one. Like I'm really talking myself into it because of like I think those 2 star players. You know what? No, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna go under.
Wow.
I'm gonna go under. I'm doing my first change. I'm gonna go under. I think
first of many to come.
I think this is for me one of the good teams that's gonna suffer from other teams getting better than them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Stephanie Soares, or it might be Suarez.
I think Suarez.
If she's from Brazil. So mess that up. But I don't know if she was a draft pick or if she went undrafted. Either way, I do like that they just like their center. They've just gone. Let's just get a huge center. That's there's no. So long as they have 3. They have 2 that are 6'7" and Suarez who's 6'6". Yeah. But they're just like that's gonna be our big. You can count on our center being just bigger than the other team's center. I have also I'm unchanged. I'm also going the under. I do.
That's good.
With what would you call that? A comforting nod for Marco from Marco. I think Sabali is one of the best players in the league. She could also be one of these 4th or 5th in the MVP this year. But I like Latricia Trammell as a coach. But I think so long as you have McCowan, you have issues. I think they looked better with Kalani Brown at the 5 last year. At least in just terms of the lineup as a whole, she would just tie everything together defensively, and then on offense, you didn't really have to go to her. But if she did set a screen, there was no real getting around it. So if Sabali's the ball handler in those pick and rolls as well, that's a 4-5 pick and roll, and opposing teams, unless it's the Liberty or the Aces or the Sun, they're just not going to be ready for it. They're not going to be able to they're not going to be able to match up with it. And then Agumbawale, it's well chronicled. Her player build is just like Allen Iverson, but like not as impactful offensively. You know, AI got by because he was like outrageously good. Do you want to put a marker in?
Yeah. Hey.
What's cracking, bro?
What's up, buddy?
Pod 2. Should we get back into it?
Should we get back into it? What were we talking about?
We were talking about the Dallas Wings, and we're back. We were talking about the Dallas Wings. Marco, you had just gone from over to under. Oh, sorry, I had just picked under, which I had...
you had written in ink.
I had written in ink ahead of time. I don't think this roster is varied enough. I just don't think it's good enough.
Yeah.
And nor is it deep enough. And as we're going to talk about, and as we have brushed on, the middle class is going to be really strong, and the wins are going to come from somewhere. And I think it's going to come from the team that is not that great, not that varied, and not that deep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the Indiana Fever?
Yeah.
Whose line was set at 20.5 wins. Last season they had 13 wins.
Mm-hmm.
They added a little guy I like to call Caitlin Clark, Demiris Dantas, Temi Fagbenle, Katie Lou Samuelson, and Celeste Taylor, with one player still to cut from that list. And they lost Maya Caldwell, Emma Cannon, Victoria Vivians, Amanda Zahuibi. Lucas, what have you gone for here? I was gonna do the... You're gonna say we have a trade to announce?
We have a trade to announce. Opening night roster has been announced for the Indiana Fever, but it's just... Oh, damn it. It doesn't say it. It just shows their lineup. Anyway, the Indiana Fever, whose line is set at 20.5, I'm going to take the over on this one, Marco.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the first instance of one of the middle-class teams I feel good about, and I think is going to be going for wins.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you add, Caitlin Clark, who's going to... Everyone has their own opinion on her, but I think Katie Lou Samuelson is a great pickup. She's a very toolsy wing, can play 3 or 4. And that was kind of missing from the Fever last season. At least more, more variance in someone they can play on the wings. Alia Boston will get a season better.
Mm-hmm.
She could be the best center in the league by the end of the season. And Temi Fagbenle, I think, will be a great... Oh, please tell me she's not the one they cut.
No, she looked... Well,
that would have been... No, she isn't. That would have been an absolute... That would have been an absolute, like, a huge mistake.
Yeah,
especially considering who they have on... all the young players they have on this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got a lot to play for. I think that they'll be playing on the biggest stage. They'll be playing... They'll be used to playing on the biggest stage. I think that'll catch a lot of their opponents off guard, and those kind of 50-50 games. I think they'll be the team to not fold under the pressure, whereas their opponents might be the team that does fold under the pressure. And I just think that they'll win. I was thinking like really that 20 to 22 range. I can't see them going below or above that in terms of wins. And 2 of those numbers are above 20.5 as well. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. All I actually wrote down was surely Caitlin Clark wins them 7 more games. But I agree with what you said. I mean, maybe let's even if we want to compare them to the Dallas Wings, like their 2 best players might be, combined better than the Dallas Wings' 2 best players, just like immediately.
Yeah, I agree.
Like their talent just like jumps off the page. And yeah, like you said, like I think they've got a lot well set up for integrating Caitlin Clark into the roster. And I think that the challenging thing for them is like I feel like they're going to be like, they're going to be marked on everyone's calendar. If you want to say that. Like other teams that have gotten better is going to be like, oh yeah, we'll see what they're like. Whereas everyone's like, no. Like we're playing Caitlin Clark tomorrow. Let's show out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see them dipping below. I think 22 wins is like probably what I would predict if I had to pick an exact number.
Yeah, I think Erica Wheeler, Christy Wallace, and Kelsey Mitchell were a really good guard rotation last season. And if you put, I've written this twice now, but if you put Caitlin Clark atop that rotation, that depth chart, then the other three players just stay the same amount good, but in a slightly reduced role, which makes their impact even greater.
Yeah.
Nalissa Smith had a great season last season, alongside Alia Boston, and then add Temi Fagbenley into the mix there in the on the inside, and Katie Lou Samuel. I just think that I can't, like, this team has to be an above 500 team, or even if it's at 500, I think that's the worst case scenario. Yeah. And if the line's 20.5, then surely they go over.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, next up.
We have the Las Vegas Aces, whose line was set at 32.5 wins. Last season, they won 34 wins. They won 34 of their wins. They added Emma Cannon, Diasha Fair, Megan Gustafson, and Kate Martin. And they lost Elena Coates, Kayla George, Candace Parker, and Rakana Williams. Sad about those last three, to be honest. Lucas, what have you gone?
I've gone under. This line is really high.
Yeah.
32.5. That means, last season they won 34 wins. That was with Candace Parker for most of the regular season. And Raquana Williams has been like a huge part of the team for a little while now. Megan Gustafson, I think, is a great addition. I think that the Aces, even though they've been able to win without another, in terms of win, I mean like win rings without another talented big or, skilled offensive big next to Asia Wilson, I don't think they can do that again. I think they need to add something different to the mix. And I think that Gustafson will be, she'll really thrive as not only the 5, but the 5th option, really. And yeah, she'll just make the most of those of the opportunities that are made for her and that she makes for herself. But 32.5 to go over that means you're thinking at the very worst they're gonna have 33-7 record. And although this team coasts to wins, I just think that I think the rest of the league is not exactly catching up, but the rest of the league has more reason to win these regular season games. And I think the Aces have won so many rings now that I don't think they're really gunning for the 1 seed.
Nah, I have to disagree with you, Lucas. I've hit the over in a semi-homer. Nah, and I actually truly believe it.
Okay.
As well.
I like it.
Because I disagree. I disagree with the they won 2 rings. They don't need to win regular season games. This team just loves winning so much. And I think they have the best coach in the league by a leap and a bound. And it is going to be hard not having Candace Parker, but they had a pretty much perfect playoff run without her. I'm sad to lose Raquana Williams and Kayla George for, personal reasons, but I think Megan Gustafson's actually more impactful big probably than Kayla was. As much as it pains for me to say that, I feel Kate Martin's not, from the very little I've seen and know about it, not a slouch either. Just kind of adds a little bit more depth during the regular season. But I just don't know how this team consistently. I don't know how you consistently beat this team. You have to catch them on an off night. That's basically the only way you can beat them, I believe. Yeah. And I don't know why they won't just go and win 34 more games next year.
Yeah, I mean it's still very doable. They've proved it, more than once. Yeah. But I've laid out my reasons and I stand by them.
Yeah, and you're so right. It's crazy high line. It's so crazy to be we're expecting this team to win more than 3/4 of their games at minimum.
80%.
Yeah.
32 wins is 80%.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on Asia Wilson with the grey hair? I hear they're calling her Greysia Wilson. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I have seen it in her. It's almost. It's almost like a Jimmy Butler jump scare when you look at the when you look at the roster portraits. She looks sick.
Media Day Greysia. Do you reckon she'll keep it for tip off?
I actually don't even know if she has. I think she might have gone back already.
Yeah, so do I. But no, good nonetheless.
I actually just think she's going to keep getting better. Like she's How many years does she have? 24.
What?
Oh no, she's 27. She's 27.
How many years does she have?
She's 27. She's my age. I need to remember that. She's peaking right now, and her peak's going to be for a while. And yeah, I don't know. Like, you know what the other thing is? I'm a bit recalcitrant to make NBA comparisons, but you know how like after the Minnesota Timberwolves won those first 2 games against the Denver Nuggets, it's like, oh look, Tim Connolly's built this team that's like, you know, tailor-made to beat the Denver Nuggets. I don't think anyone's done that for the Aces.
Yeah.
Like teams have gotten better, but they haven't like answered them.
Yeah.
You know, the only way they've answered them is just by like, oh yeah, we'll just get heaps and heaps of star talent and put it on one roster.
Yeah.
But,
I think you might be talking about the Liberty there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I there might be one other team that we're going to get to that is kind of doing that. But like, yeah, like I don't know who their bad matchup is in this league. And yeah, you're right. It's a confidence pick.
Yeah, you gotta. And we gotta disagree on another one because we nearly disagreed. We nearly had 3 disagreements. So far. We had 2.5 over or under. Asia Wilson's born on the 8th of August reminded me of. I was just looking at the Fever's roster. Nalissa Smith's birthday. Doesn't it just look fake? Next to all of it, it's written in as just 8/8/00. It just doesn't fit. The rest of them look like birthdays.
They got to change their formatting there, I think.
The US?
I think they got to make it 2000.
Oh, wait.
Like.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 8/8/2000. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah.
This is just 6 circles.
Yeah.
All right, well, next up, who we got?
We got the Los Angeles Sparks.
The Sparks of Los Angeles. They had their line is set at 10.5. Last season they had 17 wins. Ins and outs. Ins are Julie Alamond, Monique Billings, Cameron Brink, Rakea Jackson, Ari McDonald, Kia Nurse, Steph Talbot, Lee Yuru. Outs, Jordan Canada, Neka Agumike, Shanae Agumike, Carly Samuelson, Katie Lou Samuelson, Jasmine Thomas, and Avina Westbrook. And there are still 3 to cut. Marco, are you looking?
I am looking.
Those to cut. I think Steph Talbot signed.
I think Monique Billings is one of them.
Yeah,
and Julie Alamond.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I really wouldn't have picked that.
I'll get back to you.
There's no rush.
That last one.
I think Steph Talbot was with them last season, but didn't play because she was injured.
Okay,
that was the only reason she wasn't on the roster, maybe.
Yeah, because they got 12, so it was only 2 to cut.
Yeah, okay, cool. There you go. Well, I'm actually very surprised that Alamond is one of the ones they cut.
Yeah.
Anyhow, line is set at 10.5. Marco, Los Angeles Sparks over under.
I've gone under for the Sparks, which, you know, that's a lot of games to lose. But like, yeah, this roster is just not very good. Like, I think there's you can be very optimistic about a lot of these players, like individually, but I think just like the overhaul and turmoil they've had in the last 2 seasons just says to me that they're not going to win many games at all. Like, I don't know, who do you think's the best player on this roster?
It's hard to tell with the rookies, but I would say it could already be Cameron Brink.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't mind the shout of Steph Talbot, but I don't know if she's going to be... She's like best player as much as she's like good winner, good teammate.
Is it like Azurá Stevens or something?
Maybe, potentially.
Yeah. Which, you know, I like Azurá Stevens, but like... This is the thing. I like all of these players, but they're just not... I just don't think they're really that good.
Yeah.
Like... and yeah, they have no incentive to win. Well, I guess what you were saying, which is like, there's no reason for them not to win because they kind of have their pieces and everything. But like, I mean, if I'm looking at some, like I really like Cameron Brink, but I want to add like a kind of, you know, I want to add a smaller player next to her. Like I want to add a kind of high pedigree guard through the draft next to her, maybe
like a Paige Beckers.
Yeah, like a Paige Beckers who will be the first overall pick next season. So yeah, I think they're going to be fully incentivized to lose as much as possible, and yeah, like it's going to take them so long to figure out like who they are as well. And they lost like heaps of good players. Like, there's like 5 there's 5 really, really solid players on that list. And I think Avina Westbrook had been there for ages as well. Like that's, I could be wrong about that.
I think the Storm drafted a Westbrook a few years ago. It could have been Avina.
No, she hasn't. She's only played 2 seasons, so I was completely wrong.
So this team, sorry, did I cut you off?
And she averaged 6 minutes a game, so I don't know where the fuck I got that.
Now
we're all about accountability here.
Now I have to put the E tag on this episode. Now this team has great front court depth. They actually have. I really like Cameron Brink, De'Arica Hamby, Rakaya Jackson. Kia Nurse is listed as a guard. Let's say she's a guard. Azare Stevens, Steph Talbot. That's 5 players I really like. Lee Yeru, I also really like. But let's say 5.5 players I really like. I've looked into it. They're playing the Mystics 3 times and the Sky 3 times instead of 4 for most teams. And I actually think that's worse for the Sky and the Mystics than it is for the Sparks.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can cut those 2 matchups up 2-2 each. If they were to play 4 games. But I feel like if they're going to play 3 games against both of those teams, I think worst case scenario, the Sparks should be looking at those as 2-1s. That's 4 wins. You got to win 7 out of your other 34, which I think is very doable. And as I said, I think that this team is just going to try and start winning from day now. Not day dot, but I think that they're going to start trying to build their winning DNA. And for what it's worth, they have their pick this up in the 2025 draft, but the Storm have their pick in the 2026 draft, which they traded for the 4th pick this season. And then Neko Ogwumike has signed with the Seattle Storm. So I'm going over. It's 11 wins. I think that at the lower class, that they're going to be better than the Sky and the Mystics, and that would surely result in 11 wins.
Yeah, I like the mathematical approach you've taken to it as well. Also, Kurt Miller's their coach, and he's been to the finals twice. He's very, 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 he's good at developing a system. But yeah, I really can't see them beating. I feel like they're going to struggle to beat anyone except the Sky and the Mystics.
That's fair.
Yeah, everyone. Okay, let's put this discussion on hold.
At the World Cup 2 years ago, I saw Kurt Miller just sitting before anyone who's getting there for games. He's just sitting on one of the levels where, I don't know, what would you call it? Next to the concessions. Yeah. He's just sitting somewhere, and I was like, so is that how this shit works? Do you just walk? Do you just is someone just hanging out? I remember seeing Stewie's baby and Martha, her partner, they were just also hanging out on one of the levels, and I was like, is this just the way this stuff works? Is this behind the scenes, just this person I've seen on TV for 6 years is just gonna be sitting there texting someone? And I was like, this is weird. This is a weird interaction. I've seen you screaming on the sideline as a coach of the Connecticut Sun, and here you are just sitting enjoying life.
Hey man, they're people too.
They are. That's really what I'm learning day by day. Should we take a half time?
Yep, sounds good.
Are we half time?
No, I think we're over. Oh,
very good.
Or under. We're over. We've done 7.
Yeah.
Cool.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
And we're back. Lucas, do you want to tell us about the Minnesota Lynx?
The Lynx of Minnesota, their line is set at 17.5. Last season they had 19 wins. Natisha Heidemann, Sika Kone, Alyssa Pilley, Alana Smith, Taylor Soule, Courtney Williams, Cecilia Zandalasini, Olivia Apupa. Outs include Natalie Achonwa, Lindsay Allen, Rachel Banham, Nicolina Milic, Tiffany Mitchell, Ariel Powers, Jessica Shepard, and one to cut. Now, Marco, what do you have for the Minnesota Lynx? Are you over, you under, where are you?
I've gone the over, and I think this was this one I went back and forth on as I weighed the various pieces in my hands. Originally, because I know this is a team that you've been very high on from I think you a vibes standpoint as much as a talent standpoint. I've joined you on that. Then I was looking at their roster and I'm like, fuck, like, again, are they going to be one of the teams that suffers because everyone, got better? But like, I think their additions are really, really solid. Like, just adding Natisha Heidemann and Courtney Williams, you're just adding two players who have just been there and done pretty much everything. To like, I think if not like super young, but much more inexperienced and up and coming sort of roster. And yeah, like I think that line is set at 17. I think that line is set a bit low. Now, I don't think they're going to be a 500 team. Like I think they're like I think they're a 19-20 wins sort of team. Yeah.
So I think the ins of Natisha Heidemann and Courtney Williams kind of cover up the out of Ariel Powers, who wasn't really getting much of a run last season, but in terms of getting to the line, applying pressure, and just like running an offense during the regular season, I think Natalie Achonwa, I think that's kind of an annoying loss, but yeah. I think that's covered up by Alana Smith. I think Jessica Shepherd, they were really missing her, but then Dorka Uhas really, really improved to be this like probably starting level center on a playoff team. Now they finished last season 19 and 15, then they made it to the playoffs, and they had just like such a spirited matchup against the Connecticut Sun. They ended up winning one of the games. Natalie Achonwa, I feel like not Natalie Achonwa. Nafisa Collier, I feel like is now like raring to go. Yeah. And I think worst case scenario for this team is 18 wins, which is above 17.5. I think this team, I also see them being like 21, maybe. I think this team is at least 500. And yeah, they're going now. They've figured everything out. They've answered all the questions, and now they're just going. And I actually think this is the easiest one.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. And I think like lots of teams have sort of like really reshaped their rosters or added star players or whatever, and it's like I feel like they've just done around the edges, which is like a sign that it's like, oh, okay, we know who we are, we know what we want to do, we just need like the complementary pieces now. Yeah, and that screams above 500 team. Yeah,
and like the under means the very best they could be is 17 and 23, and that just doesn't seem right at all.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, let's nip that in the bud. The Liberty of New York, the New York Liberty.
The New York Liberty, whose line was set at 29.5 wins. They had 32 last season. They added Kennedy Burke, Makisha Davis, Ivana Jokic, Leonie Fiovic, Esmeri Martinez, and Jalen Sherrod. And they lost Stephanie Dolson, Marine Johannes, Jocelyn Willoughby, and Han Shu. There's one player from that ins list that is yet to cut. Lucas, what do you think about the New York Liberty?
29.5. I've gone over. I think they'll be 32 and 8. I think that's like, if I'm looking at the end of the season, I think they'll be at 32 and 8. I think they are. I think
same as last season.
Same as last season. But I think the rest of the field has gotten better. But I also think they're going to be gunning for the 1 seed because I think they're going to be. I think they should be looking for any advantage they can get over the Las Vegas Aces. Yeah. And home court advantage in the finals would be one of those advantages. And yeah, I think that they were also just missing another one of the glaring things between the Aces and the Liberty last year was that it was quite clear that this was year one of a project for the Liberty, or last season was, and the Aces were continuing on with the team with the same core that had been. How long have those three been together? Plum, Gray, and Wilson. That's probably and even Jack Young. It's probably 3 or 4 years now.
Plum, Gray, and Wilson. Plum, Young, and Wilson's like 5. And I think Chelsea Gray is 3. Yeah.
So that's so much longer than the Liberty have had together, and now they're developing that continuity and playing together. So yeah, I think. I can't see them going 29 and 11 or worse. I can see them going 30 and 10 or better. Yeah.
What a great way to put it. I completely agree with you. Like if this team is going to like improve significantly, it's going to be from last season to this season. That might not translate into more wins, but it'll translate into easier wins and, more chemistry. And then, I think it's sort of a more cohesive outlook, like in the playoffs. I think Marina Johannes, I think that loss is huge. Like, she was... There was that one game in the finals where, like, she actually looked like the only player who knew what was going on in the Liberty, which is just absurd to say when you look at the rest of the talent on that team. But I think keeping a player like that around who's sort of like kept you together on the biggest stage is such a boon. But yeah, I don't think it's going to affect how good they are during the regular season.
Yeah, it's a regular season award. Win total overruns.
Yeah.
I don't want to get anything wrong here. Are you finding it takes forever to load the rosters on the WNBA.com?
Can I be honest with you? I'm on Wikipedia.
Oh, that could be a better way of doing it.
Some saint, women's basketball is often neglected on Wikipedia, but some saint has been updating them like live, basically.
Damn.
I've noticed over the last week as I've been checking in, I'm like, oh, they got dropped. Oh, and the Wikipedia article reflects that. That's crazy.
Beautiful.
There's a great Wikipedia article. It's called "List of Current WNBA Team Rosters."
Okay, and the one on the team's on the team themselves will be up to date as well, you would assume.
Yeah. I think they're the same resource. Yeah.
Okay. Because I see Leonie Fiebig being the replacement of Marine Johannes, and even with like, I feel like there were 2 games where Johannes was just like at least had like a run which kept the Liberty above water. I still just feel like Sandy Brondello didn't really love playing her.
No.
And I feel like Fiebig offers something a little bit different. I think she's a bigger body. And yeah, I think she'll just fit into that Johannes role pretty seamlessly. But yeah, in terms of the regular season, I think they'll go 32-8 again.
Yeah.
So you went over?
I went over, yeah. Looks like a 32-8 team to me.
The Phoenix Mercury. Mark, do you want to take it away with the Phoenix Mercury?
The Phoenix Mercury, whose line was set at 18.5 wins. Last season they had a league low 9. They got the wooden spoon. They have gained Beck Allen,
Boom.
Morgan Birch, Natasha Cloud,
Boom.
Kalia Copper,
Boom.
Liz Dixon, Mikla Herbert Harrigan, and Natasha Mack. And they have lost Skylar Diggins Smith, but I don't think she played a game last season.
Didn't.
Nope. Megan Gustafson, Mariah Jefferson, Ashley Jones, Michaela Onyenwere, Shea Petty, Katie Sissoko, Brianna Turner, and Maddie Williams. Lucas, what do you think of the new look Phoenix Mercury?
What an off season. Like, seriously ridiculous talent added.
Incredible.
Natasha Cloud and Kalia Copper, what is that, top 3 backcourt in the league?
Yeah.
Maybe top 1.
Yeah.
Beck Allen, like, who's the 3? Is it Beck Allen? Is it Sophie Cunningham? Then your 6th player is Beck Allen or Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah.
I think Natasha Mack, famous one.
I mean, not to mention Diana Taurasi as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so they're both probably coming off the bench.
Oh,
like,
damn. Unless you put Beck Allen to the 4.
Beck Allen and Sophie Cunningham have both played 4 before, which is awesome. Like,
and, who's the center?
Yeah.
Once you get to Brittany Griner, who I think is going to miss the start of the season.
Yeah, she is, yeah.
But once you get to her, you can play a smaller 4. And even in the playoffs last year, Beck Allen was really stealing quite a few rebounds.
Yeah.
I remember, I think against the Liberty especially, she was really giving them fits on the glass. And that's either coming up against Stewie or... No, not John Quell Jones, but Stewie, Kayla Thornton, or Benijah Laney.
Did she play some 4 at the World Cup as well?
Good question.
I feel like she played a lot
Maybe.
of 4, like, or she's playing a lot of that, sort of more front courty role.
Oh yeah. No, she was definitely like 3 more than anything else.
Yeah.
But Sandy loved playing 2 of the bigs, like 2 of Ezzy and Kayla, or LJ or Tolo. Like, I feel like 2 of them were always on.
Yeah.
So just unbelievable off season. Depth is obviously an issue. Oh, and also adding the famous Montenegrin Natasha Mack. So funny at the Eurobasket last year, looking at the the Montenegro teams like line up on the big board on the jumbotron, all of the names ended in IC.
Except
for Natasha Mack.
Natasha Makic, let's call it.
Set it so 18.5. The Phoenix Mercury. Wow, I haven't looked at my over-unders once this time. I just memorized them. The Phoenix Mercury. I was flipping and flopping over, changing and chopping over, overing and undering, but I went over. Ultimately, I went over. Their closing 5, maybe let's call it their closing 7, is really, really good. There's gonna be stretches of the season where they're all healthy, or at least they're all available to play.
Yeah.
And you just assume they win those games. Like they've got, you assume they get. I assume they get to 19 wins.
I flip-flopped on this one a bit as well, because 18.5 seems ridiculous when you look at it on paper, and you're like, well, there's like, what? There's a first team all defensive member, maybe 2. There's like at least 3 all-stars. But there is just like Brittany Griner is already going to miss the start of the season. Diana Taurasi is a million years old.
Yeah.
But like on the other hand, like Kalia Copper can keep a team above water by herself.
Yeah.
Like she's one of the best scorers in this league. Yeah. Like individually, and she has been like the fulcrum. You know, she was the fulcrum of the sky in some ways. Like you know, in seasons past. And yeah, then I think that, like Natasha Cloud, that's someone who's going to play 40 games for you. You know? Like she's going to be out there every single night, defending the best player, hitting threes, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, again, the Beck Allen, Sophie Cunningham, like, as a duo, like, maybe having 40 minutes between them is, like, just so good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just all going to depend on health. But I think even with health considerations, they have to win 20 games. Like, even if Griner misses 10 and Taurasi misses 12 or something like that, like, they're not gonna they might even go 500 in those games. Like the rest of the roster feels good enough to like, you know, to kind of show up against the other teams in this tier. So yeah, I've gone the over.
Yeah, Beck Allen and Sophie Cunningham just complement the players, the bigs and the smalls as those wings, and then Natasha Cloud running an offense where the options are Allen, Cunningham, Copper, Taurasi, and Griner. It's just crazy. Yeah. Like she's gonna find an open shot. They're gonna have a good shot every single time. And yeah, again, it might just be a maths thing. So you said over? Did you?
I
say?
did say over. Yeah.
Over. And the line is 18.5. But obvious questions about health.
Yeah. But fuck, like so much playmaking, so much shooting. Like, and if Griner's just like she said. Have you been watching some of her, because she's been doing sort of like a press run about the, you know, her time in Russian prison. And she just seems like she's so much more confident, which, you know, I feel like just must have played into a lot of stuff last season.
Yeah.
Like, and fucking so fair enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, that just says to me that like when she is healthy, she's going to be like so ready and so at the level. Yeah, like, God, when this team is healthy, they could be like 4th best team in the league.
Yeah. So hopefully also this hopefully they can keep this team together.
Yeah.
For I think 2025 they could seriously have a run at a ring. Especially if they add a player, they go into the season with a healthy Griner and a healthy Taurasi.
Yeah.
And then keep all the other players. Next on the list, the Seattle Storm. Line is set at 24.5. Last season, 11 wins. This season, the ins are Skylar Diggins-Smith, Nika Mule, Neka Agwumike, Victoria Vivians, Kiana Williams. Outs include Jade Melbourne, Kia Nurse, Yvonne Turner, and Gabby Williams. I'll go first with the Seattle Storm. I really don't like that Gabby Williams is no longer on the team. I do like that she's not on another team. I think that makes it a little bit sweeter. Sad to see Jade Melbourne go. I haven't mentioned where she's an in at, but she made the final roster for one of the teams. The only one we haven't mentioned. But great. Skylar Diggins-Smith. This team's like... So, Neka Agwumike, just a superstar. Next to Jewel Lloyd. That's such a good scoring duo there. Ezzy will just like continue on her development,
Yeah.
her like exponential, her skyrocketing development. And then Skylar Diggins-Smith running that offense. I don't know who the other starter is exactly. I don't really care who the other starter is. Maybe that changes. Maybe you go, another big some games. Maybe you go another wing. But such a good 4-player, like such a good big four. You can always call it a big four.
It totally is.
Yeah. And so this is one of the ones I was chopping and changing on. I was just like, I feel like they're gonna need to grow together, like blend together a little bit at the start of the season. But like, surely they win 25 games, and so I went over.
Yeah, I've gone the over as well. It was one I had consternations about, simply because we know why there were 11 wins last season, but like 24.5 is a huge number when you have you're introducing a lot of new elements to the roster. But I don't think that amount of talent is really going to struggle to play well together. Maybe to the point of being a finals team, not to the point of winning 25 games.
Yeah.
If you look at the last season they played, because Skylar Diggins-Smith missed last season, but Nyeka Ogwumike averaged 19.1 points. Skylar Diggins-Smith averaged 19.7 points, and Jewel Lloyd, of course, led the league in scoring with 24.7 points a game. So those numbers are going to go down, and their field goal percentage is going to go up. Basically, there's just going to be so much good offense. I love Ezzy. I feel like it's so good that she's just such an established starter in the WNBA, and such a treasure, such a valued player by the league as well. I think,
yeah, definitely. It's awesome to see. I'm really trying to. I think you just have a rotating fifth starter on this team, unless I'm fully missing something.
Give them all a shot.
Give them all a go with the other four. Unless I'm fully just missing something.
I actually don't know who it would be.
Because Neka, you can play her at the 4. She is a 4.
Yeah.
But then you could start Mercedes Russell some games. You can start Sammy Whitcomb some games.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. Anyway, I feel really good about this team. I think in the past few seasons, there's been so many times where I feel like putting the ball in the hole has really looked like an issue. It's been like, how are we gonna put the ball in the hole?
Yep.
Sue Bird's last season, it was like, what are we gonna do? These playoff games, scoring is becoming so hard. Jewel Lloyd was being papered up. It was that thing of you're not gonna stop Stewie, but they would key in on Jewel Lloyd. And then Sue Bird ended up being one of the bucket getters for the team. I think Ezzy as well will just continue on that development of just being a steady 10 to, let's call it 8 to 16 points every night.
Yeah.
And so I think also on the defensive end, Noelle Quinn will do just such a good job with this team. And hopefully the offense gets a bit more dynamic. Hopefully the offense gets more dynamic, because it really wasn't last year. And I know the team was bad, but even the year before that, I don't think it was the most dynamic offense.
No. What about Nika Mule?
Yeah.
She's a very cool pickup for a team with lots of very obvious offensive players.
Yeah. As a Gabby Williams replacement.
Yeah. And a sort of lockdown defender. She's a rookie, and so you don't know how it's going to translate, but that's a really good piece to have.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Also, aside from the old players, these players are really young.
Yeah. Aside from the old players, these players are really young.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Take that
Lucas.
for data. And last on the list, last in the alphabet, W, of course. The Washington Mystics line is set at 11.5. Last season had 19 wins. Ins include Jakia Brown-Turner, probably Jakia Brown-Turner, Alyssa Cunane, Stephanie Dolson, Alia Edwards, Emily Angstier, Jade Melbourne, shout out, Didi Richards, shout out, Carly Samuelson, shout out, Kaylin Trong, Julie Van Loo, shout out. Outs include Natasha Cloud, Elena Del Don, Queen Egbo, Tiana Hawkins, Lee Mang, Christy Tolliver. 3 to cut.
Yeah.
Huge outs, man.
Yeah.
Such huge outs. You had something you wanted to say. I remember you texted something. You were just the more and more you read about the Mystics, the sadder you get for them. Do you want to expand on that now that we're live on air?
Oh, no, I can't remember why I said that.
You were just like, the more you look, you said something along the lines like, the more you looked into it, the more you're like, oh, this is like such a sad, like the way it petered out was like not at all by choice.
Yeah. I mean, like Elena Delle Donne's stepping away from basketball for like, potentially a season, potentially longer. Like, and I think like when like your franchise player just disappears overnight for no return, it's like, oh, what the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to find direction there, because it's not like, oh cool, well we got this young player or this draft pick, or they had this great final retirement. And I think like the Mystics, when did they've won a championship in the Delle Donne era, haven't they?
I think so.
Yeah, like, but like it's it did feel like this team, they won in 2019, but like this team just felt so together and set. It was like, all right, every year the Washington Mystics are going to come back with the same group and they're going to, make life hard for you. And now it feels like, losing her is, bad. And then Natasha Cloud as well just means like a lot of your identity sort of disappears. I mean, I still, I like Errol Atkins, I like Shakira Austin, like I like some of their ins, but I feel like it's just going to be such a shock to like their identity, and I'm taking them for the under. Like I think it's going to be hard for them to put together wins.
Yeah, I like Ariel Atkins. It always kind of flies under the radar that she's just like an Olympian and like one of like the ring-ins for one of the repeat features of the US national team.
100%. She's like Drew Holiday or something.
Yeah. Not the easiest team to be a repeat selection.
Yeah.
Shakira Austin, there's really no solid answer on her return. And it seems as though she's going to miss the start of the season. Listen to a recent episode of the Locked On Women's Basketball podcast, and can't remember her name, but the beat reporter for the Mystics was like, the team is, hoping she's back for the opening night, and there's just been no follow-up since that. So you'd have to assume she's out for a little while, especially when you follow it up, you can't really find any sort of return for Shakira Austin, which just kind of leaves Ariel Atkins from any of their like successful seasons as like a starter on this lineup, on this roster. And I don't really know the way this team shapes up, but before I mentioned that they kind of went for a retool rather than like a full-on rebuild. And, even though Julie Van Loo is listed as a rookie, she's like a competitor. Didi Richards, we saw how much of a competitor she is. Jade Melbourne, if she is to get reps, she's going to compete. Carly Samuelson, again, she'll compete. Alia Edwards, I feel like she only showed that she was a competitor at college. And when you're coming in as like a top pick, you're not going to come in and... You're not going to... If you're coming into this team that has, so much experience, Stephanie Dolson as well... You're not going to like take a back seat. I mean, Brittany Sykes as well. Like this team isn't exactly built to bottom out, but they're also not really built to win. They're not really positioned to win either. 11.5 wins after listing all those players that are bringing so much experience doesn't seem that high, but I'm also going under.
Yeah.
Again, the wins have to come from somewhere. If you have, you do have a good roster.
Yeah.
And kind of a good repositioning point. But I don't think you're going to win games, especially with this much uncertainty around your team. I just don't think it's going to turn into wins.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you're right. Like I feel like I could have appeared a bit too harsh on them. But I mean, well, it's like you have good players, but like you are now just having to reckon with like who they are to you. Like like what do these players mean to you? Like, how are you going to use these players? What's yours? Because it has to be completely different, right? Like, you can't. You're not just subbing in. You're not subbing in the next Elena Delle Donne for Elena Delle Donne. Like, you are going to have to find a new way to play basketball with this team. But I just felt a bit sad about her, departure really, because she's an awesome player. And the real identity of this franchise as well.
Definitely. So should we recap everything and say what our overs and unders were?
For sure. So I think we've only disagreed on 3 by my reckoning, which is it's probably the right amount to disagree on.
That's a quarter.
Yeah. The Atlanta Dream, I went the over.
I went the under on 18.5.
Yeah, I will say the line. The Chicago Sky at 12.5. I went the under.
I went under.
The Connecticut Sun at 23.5. I went the over.
I went over.
The Dallas Wings at 20.5. I went the under.
I went under. You pulled a last minute.
I did. I pulled
a last minute
switcheroo.
under.
I'm really happy with that. I did though, because it's what I felt in my heart of hearts.
Yeah.
The Indiana Fever at 20.5. I picked the over.
Bandwagoner. I picked the over.
The Las Vegas Aces at 32.5. I picked the over.
I picked the under.
And you're gonna live to regret that, bud. The Los Angeles Sparks at 10.5. I picked the under.
I picked the over.
Nice. Minnesota Lynx at 17.5. I picked the over.
I picked it hard over.
New York Liberty at 29.5. I picked the over.
Over.
Phoenix Mercury 18.5. Over.
Over.
Seattle Storm at 24.5. Over.
Over.
Washington Mystics at 11.5. Under.
Under.
Nice.
Do you want to change any of these while we're here?
No, I'm happy with these.
Yeah, I feel good about my 12.
Yeah, as I've read them out, yeah, the wing. If I'd gone over on the Wings, I would have been unhappy about it.
Yeah.
That's why I changed it.
So I think this will be coming out morning of the 15th of May.
Mm-hmm.
What a great time to be a basketball fan. I mean, opening night for the WNBA, middle of the playoffs for the NBA. As for the WNBA, tomorrow we have, just load, the New York Liberty and the Washington Mystics, the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, the Phoenix Mercury and the Las Vegas Aces, and the Minnesota Lynx and the Seattle Storm. What would be the best game there?
Can you say them again?
Liberty Mystics, I think that won't be the best game.
Yeah.
Fever Sun, that might be the best game. Mercury Aces probably won't be without Griner. Lynx Storm, I think that'll actually be the best game.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that'll be the best one, I think. But also watching CC's debut against the Sun will be. I feel like that's like it's like a crazy team for her to debut against.
Yeah. That's definitely the most.
She's not gonna get any easy shots.
Oh, this is something you didn't mention for the Connecticut Sun. Also, their coaching. Like, Stephanie White is...
Yeah.
She's so good at coaching.
Yeah.
She was amazing. Last season, last playoffs, she was just, like, pulling out every adjustment. Really giving that team... And that should also play into the over-under. Like, she was just making it so hard for the Liberty to beat them.
Yeah.
And it was probably talent that ended up getting the Liberty over the Sun. Because I feel like they were playing better basketball.
Yeah.
And then, let's mention the boys as well. Pacers, Knicks, and Wolves, Nuggets, both game 5s for 2-2 series. Like, how are we going to watch all of this?
I probably won't.
I'll probably have to miss Liberty Mystics, but I'm not going to miss Caitlin Clark's debut.
No way.
And then Lynx Storm, I have to watch that.
Yeah.
It's my favorite team and my favorite team.
It is. Yeah, far out. That's crazy. And then those two men's games, the WNBA M. I feel like anything could happen in either of those games.
Yeah.
I couldn't give you a prediction for either.
Thanks, Chuck. In this basketball game, we will have a winner. All right, Marco, I guess I'll see you at dinner, but listener, I'll see you in the next one.
See you then.
Bye.